Episode 9, Depression's Many Faces, Part 2.
All right, wherever you are in the world, whether you're curled up in bed, walking under the stars, sitting in traffic, or just hiding away from the world for a while, welcome back to Finding Light in Darkness.
Hey Legends, it's Michael here, and we just want you to take a breath, get comfy, and give yourself permission to just be for the next little while. You made it to this episode, and that alone says something.
Yeah, it says you're still fighting, even if it doesn't feel like it. Even if you're just lying there staring at the ceiling or sitting in silence wondering what the point is, you're here. That means everything to us.
We're going to start the episode in about 2.5 minutes, but before we do, grab what you need. Tea, coffee, headphones, tissues, a notebook, a cat, your dog, even your anxiety. Bring all of it with you.
That's right, just bring the mess. We don't pretend to have it all together here, and we won't expect you to either.
We're not trying to fix you. That's not our job. We're just two mates talking through the dark stuff and trying to hold space for whatever you've been carrying.
So we'll kick off in a moment with a quick recap of last time, but for now, just settle in. You're not alone anymore.
Soul searching, fall apart, tunnel vision, hiding in the dark. Well, I ain't gonna holler before I really bleed. Salvation or quick fix remedy. You said I never could change. I thought I never could change. They said I never could change. Damn right, never would. Leave the light on. Leave the light on. Just leave the light on. Yeah, leave the light on. If I'll ever change, Nashville, Tennessee, while the cold here in Sweden got the best of me. Well, haven't I got better things to think about than that? Like deadlines, rents due, bills pile up, family day in, day out, the clock's mocking me, getting old, oh God, the kids deserve so much more than this, gotta get rich. You said I never could change. I thought I never could change. They said I never could change. Damn right, I never would. Leave the light on. Leave the light on. Leave the light on. Just leave.
So last episode, we opened up about what depression can really look like. Not just the sad face in a commercial version, but the deeper, more chaotic, confusing, and often invisible faces it wears.
Yeah, we talked about the difference between feeling down and being in a depressive episode, and we explored your personal experiences with high-functioning depression, shutdowns, that bone-deep exhaustion, and that terrifying feeling where joy just disappears.
We also went into how depression tricks us, into silence, into isolation, and into believing we're not worth helping. It's a shapeshifter. Sometimes it's loud and messy. Sometimes it's quiet, even polite, but it's always trying to convince you that you're alone in it.
And Scott, you shared that powerful moment where you couldn't even answer the door or your phone. You talked about those tears that wouldn't stop. Not because you were weak, but because your body had to let go of something before it exploded inside.
Yeah, it was heavy, still is. And I want to thank everyone who reached out after that episode. Your messages, your bravery in saying, me too. They reminded me I'm not just screaming into a void.
We also started to break down the myth of time heals all wounds, especially when time feels like a loop, not a line. If you missed that one, I really recommend going back and giving it a listen. We're building something here, step by step.
Today, we're going deeper into the faces of depression we don't talk about, the ones that look like laughter, like strength, like achievement, but are really just masks. Some of you know what I mean. Let's talk about something that hits deep. Masks, not the COVID kind, the ones we wear when we smile at a stranger while our insides are crumbling, the ones that say, I'm fine when we're drowning. Depression's favorite disguise is competence.
Yeah, you can look like you've got your life together. You can show up to work, take care of the kids, pay your bills, post selfies, but underneath, you're walking through emotional quicksand, and no one sees it because the mask looks so damn convincing.
For years, decades even, I wore that mask. Hell, I built it brick by brick. I made sure it was solid, jokes, always ready. Need help moving house? I'm your guy. But inside, it felt like I was bleeding out slowly.
It's a survival mechanism, especially for men, right? Society conditions us not to show pain, not to cry, not to fall apart in front of people. So instead of healing, we hide. And that hiding becomes second nature.
Spot on. I became so good at pretending I was okay that even I believed it for a while. But deep down, I knew. I knew something wasn't right when I felt more connection to a blank wall than to people. I knew when I couldn't enjoy anything, even the stuff I loved.
Do you remember the first time the mask cracked?
Yeah, vividly. It was the night after I lost my partner. Everything in my life just stopped. But I didn't stop. I kept working, kept talking, kept doing. Then one night, I just sat on the floor in the dark. Couldn't move, couldn't cry. I wasn't even sad. I was just nothing.
That's the scariest version of depression. When it's not rage, not sobbing, not chaos, just emptiness.
Exactly. I wasn't even sure I existed. That's when I knew the mask had to come off, and it was the ugliest, rawest, hardest thing I've ever done.
And yet, that's when the healing started, right?
Yeah, because I couldn't lie to myself anymore. And I started asking the real questions. Who am I without the mask? What do I want, if not just survival?
You mentioned before how society teaches us to perform strength, especially men. But this goes deeper than gender. It's about identity. If you've always been the strong one, the reliable one, what happens when you're not?
It messes with your head. You start to believe that being strong is the only way people will love you. You become terrified that if you ever fall apart, you'll be alone. So you tighten up. You never vent. You carry everyone else's load. You even make jokes while dying inside.
And eventually, you stop reaching out, because asking for help feels like failure.
It does. I remember one night, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, whispering to myself, you've got to hold it together. If you break, no one will pick up the pieces. But that's the lie depression feeds us. It convinces us that our worth is based on how much we can endure quietly.
Right? Like resilience becomes a cage.
Exactly. And the crazy part is, people around you often don't even know you're suffering because you're too good at hiding it. But inside, you're a war zone. And eventually, That unspoken grief leaks out in irritability, in health problems, in isolation, in self-hate.
Or worse, in total shutdown.
I've had shutdowns that lasted days. I'd wake up, move from bed to couch, stare at the wall for hours. No TV, no music, just stillness. Because even existing felt too loud. People don't understand that kind of shutdown unless they've lived it.
Let's break this myth once and for all. Depression doesn't always look like sadness.
Hell no. Sometimes it looks like irritability, sometimes it's forgetfulness, or constant fatigue, or zoning out in the middle of a conversation. People think you're lazy or moody, but you're just fighting for your life.
I've had clients who didn't cry, didn't sleep all day. They overworked. They went to the gym obsessively, cleaned their house 5 times a day, because being still meant facing the feelings, and they weren't ready for that.
I can relate to that. I used to clean obsessively, like toothbrush, scrubbing the bathroom, kind of cleaning, because it gave me a sense of control. If I could control the outside, maybe the chaos inside would shut up.
It's like people develop coping patterns that look healthy, but they're really just survival behaviors.
Spot on. And that's why depression gets missed in so many people, especially in high-functioning folks. You're still getting stuff done, but it costs you. Every task feels like pushing a boulder uphill. You collapse the second you're alone.
And if someone compliments you, like, "You're so strong," it feels like a slap. Because you want to scream, "No, I'm not. I'm dying inside."
Exactly. I'd get messages like, "You're such an inspiration." And I'd think, if only you knew, inspiration is a mask too. One I wore while trying not to break. I want to share a couple of listener messages. These hit hard. One is from Maddie, age 29, from Geelong. "Scott, when you talked about not being able to answer the phone, that's me. People think I'm rude or flaky, but I literally freeze. My heart races. I stare at it, ringing like it's a bomb about to go off. I'm so tired of pretending."
Maddie, you're not alone. That freeze response is real, and it's not weakness, it's trauma logic. Your body goes into safety mode.
Another one's from Ben, 42, in Queensland. "I've been the strong one my whole life, for my family, for my mates, even for strangers. But lately, I've felt invisible. Like I gave everyone my light and forgot to keep any for myself." Ben, I'm brother, I hear you. And that line, "I gave everyone my light and forgot to keep any for myself," that's going in my journal.
That's a poem waiting to be born, and a message to all the strong ones listening. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to cry. You don't have to bleed for everyone else to prove your worth.
Let's go back to something that's been bouncing around in my head since the last episode. Einstein once said, "There is no such thing as time. It's an illusion." Now, if that's true, if time isn't real in the way we think, then what the hell are we doing when we say, "Time heals all wounds"?
Right. Because if time is just a loop, healing isn't something that passively happens to us. You've got to step into the loop, interrupt it, and do the work.
Exactly. You can't just wait it out. That's what I tried to do for years. I sat in my pain, hoping it would go away if I just kept breathing. But depression isn't weather. It doesn't just pass if you sit in a chair long enough. You got to get involved. You've got to reach into the loop and say, "Hey, I see you. I'm not running anymore."
And that takes guts, because when you stop running, you face all the stuff you've buried. And that includes shame, regret, grief, and sometimes even guilt for surviving.
I remember one night after the floods, I had this wave of guilt, not just survivor's guilt, but guilt for still laughing sometimes. Guilt for remembering the smell of her perfume and smiling. Like, how dare I be okay for even 1 minute?
That's the paradox of healing. You want to move forward, but part of you feels like you're betraying the pain, like healing is abandoning the memory.
Yeah, but here's what I learned. Healing doesn't erase love or grief. It just gives those feelings somewhere to go. Instead of poisoning me slowly, I let the grief breathe. That's how I broke my own loop.
You've mentioned a personal method you use a few times now, the 3 L's. Can we go deeper into that?
Absolutely. It saved me, mate. When I was in my darkest moments, the ones where even brushing my teeth felt like climbing Everest, I started talking to my anxiety like it was a person. And from those talks, the 3 L's were born. Learn from the feeling, limit the damage, listen without judgment.
Okay, break that down.
So, learn. When I feel that familiar ache in my chest or the pressure behind my eyes, instead of panicking, I say, "What are you trying to teach me?" Maybe it's that I'm pushing too hard. Maybe it's that I'm lonely. Or maybe I just need rest. Anxiety is often a messenger, not a monster.
Love that. So, what about limit?
That's about damage control. I can't always stop a panic wave, but I can stop it from becoming a tsunami. That means no alcohol, no isolating, no picking fights. I set limits on my reactions, even if I can't control the emotion itself.
And listen.
This one's the hardest. I sit in the silence and just listen to what my mind is saying. Not to believe it, but to hear it. And that's when I realize most of my thoughts aren't facts. They're echoes of past pain.
That's beautiful, Scott. I think a lot of people could use the 3 L's in their lives, because it's not about fixing the pain, it's about understanding it.
Yeah, because fixing implies something's broken. And mate, I don't believe anyone listening is broken. I believe we're all just hurting in complicated ways. Can I share a memory? One that still keeps me warm when depression tries to freeze me out?
Please do, mate.
It was with my partner and I were in Townsville. We stopped by this random little picnic area. Nothing fancy, just a battered old table, a couple of sandwiches, and the sky above us. I remember we sat there in silence, no phones, no noise. Then the clouds above parted like someone had opened curtains, and sunlight streamed through and landed right on us. She looked at me and said, "You feel that?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "That's the universe saying we're all right, just for today."
That just gave me chills.
It was the most peaceful moment of my life. And after I lost her, I clung to that picnic memory like it was oxygen. Depression wants us to forget moments like that. It wants us to live only in the loss. But I refuse to let it steal that sunlight. There's something we haven't talked about much yet, the mirror, and how depression warps it.
Yeah. You look at your reflection and you don't see yourself. You see failure. You see shame. You see every mistake screaming back at you.
It's wild. I could be fully dressed, clean, ready for a meeting, and look in the mirror and feel disgust. Not because of how I looked, but because of what I felt the mirror was reflecting. All the things I couldn't fix.
And no one sees that. They think, you're presentable, you're smiling, you must be fine. But your self-image is fractured.
Exactly, and it's not vanity, it's deeper, it's identity erosion. I'd stand there and whisper, "Who even are you?" That's a dangerous place to be, when you can't even recognize the person in front of you. I want to share something deeply personal. Years ago, I lost a version of the Footprints in the Sand poem, not the traditional one. It was rewritten for me, and it got washed away in the 2018 floods, but the words stayed in my soul. I remember it like this. I walk along the beach with the Lord, and I looked at the Lord, looked at the ground at the beach. I said to the Lord, "Why is there only one set of footprints?" The Lord come back and said to me, "I'm not the one looking forward. You've already been back there. There's only one way to go, and that's forward."
That's beautiful. That hits different.
I think about that every time depression makes me want to go back to the mistakes, the regrets, the what-ifs. But that version of the poem reminds me, those footprints behind me already tell the story. I don't need to relive it.
So the pain isn't erased. It's just behind you now.
Yeah, it's part of the path, not the destination. And maybe, just maybe, every scar I carry is proof that I kept walking. All right, if you're still with us, thank you, truly. You've made it through another episode where we didn't shy away from the hard stuff. Now I want to talk to you, the one listening in the dark, the one scrolling late at night, the one pretending to be okay at work, the one hiding in plain sight. You're not a burden, you're not broken, you're not too much, you're here. That's enough.
And if you're someone who feels like no one would care if you disappeared, I need you to know, that's the depression talking. That's the illness lying to you. You matter. Your story isn't over. Not today, not yet.
If all you did today was breathe, I'm proud of you. If you answered one message or got out of bed or brushed your teeth, I'm proud of you. And even if you did none of those things, I'm still proud of you because you're still here.
We've talked about depression's many faces, but now it's time to look in the mirror and say, I see you, and I'm staying. No more hiding, no more pretending.
Your pain is valid, your healing is real, and your life, no matter how messy, is worth living. Let's read a few more messages. These come from our podcast poll where we asked, do you love yourself?
The answers were sobering. Over 80% of you said sometimes or no. Here's a message from Chloe, 37 WA. I've tried to love myself, but it always feels fake, like I'm borrowing confidence that doesn't belong to me.
Chloe, I feel that. I've had moments where even complimenting myself in the mirror felt like lying, but that's the work. You don't start with love, you start with curiosity.
Maybe instead of I love me, it's I'm willing to get to know me.
Yeah, love isn't always fireworks. Sometimes it's just showing up, feeding yourself, sleeping, saying no. You don't need to be loud about it. Sometimes the quietest love is the bravest. I want to end with a challenge. A healing one, a letter writing exercise. You don't have to send it. You don't even have to show it to anyone. But try this tonight. Write a letter to your depression or to your past self or to someone who hurt you or to the version of you who's still trying. Here's a rough example of when I wrote, Dear Depression, I see you now. You're not a monster. You were a shield, a scream, a shutdown. And you came when I was too small to protect myself. But I'm not small anymore. I'm older now and tired and healing. So I don't hate you, but I can't let you drive anymore. Scott.
That's powerful. Writing like that gives the pain somewhere to go. You externalize it, you face it, and maybe, in some small way, you reclaim a part of yourself.
Exactly. And if you write one and want to share it, you know where to reach me. We're going to wrap up now, friends. This episode, this whole journey, it's not easy, but it's worth it. Not because we have all the answers, but because we're finally asking the right questions out loud together.
Yeah. And even when Scott's not okay, like during that break he took, this podcast doesn't stop. Because healing isn't about being perfect. It's about staying present.
And we'll be here for every face depression wears, for every listener wondering if anyone gets it. Yes, we do. If you need help, please don't wait. Lifeline 1-31114. Beyond Blue 1300224636. Or reach out to me directly. Chat with Scott, findthelight@gmail.com. You don't have to fight alone.
And remember, reaching out isn't giving up. It's fighting back.
We'll see you in the next one. And until then, hold the light, even if it's just a flicker.
Soul searching, fall apart, tunnel vision, hiding in the dark. Well, I ain't gonna holler before I really bleed. Salvation, a quick fix remedy. You said I never could change. I thought I never could change. They said I never could change. Damn right, never would. Leave the light on. Leave the light on. Just leave the light on. Yeah, leave the light on. If I'll ever change, of Nashville, Tennessee, while the cold here in Sweden got the best of me. Well, haven't I got better things to think about than that? Like deadlines, rent's due, bills pile up, family day in, day out, the clock's mocking me, getting old, oh God, the kids deserve so much more than this, gotta get rich. You said I never could change. I thought I never could change. They said I never could change.